Let's talk about
We
the
have a
Handon
lot.
Diaries.
It's not
Let's talk about,
Legacies.
let's talk about Handon. Okay, y'all ready?
Yeah, I'm right.
Okay.
Lead us off, is.
Hey guys, it's Iz.
Hey guys, it's Naj.
Hey, it's Robyn.
Hi guys, it's it.
And today we're here talking about the pilot of Legacies. Now, what we're doing now is something that, we thought about for a while, which is we're going to be talking and discussing each episode of Legacies, and pretty much giving our full thoughts about each one, things that we may have noticed, things that we wish would have been explored later on in the season, plot holes and stuff like that,
Are,
because
are we doing,
obviously,
because we started in season 3, right? So
Yeah,
we have talks from season 3 and 4, but we don't have anything for season 1 and 2. So that's what we're doing, right? Season 1 and 2 right now.
yeah.
yeah, because obviously we never really did a full 1 to 4, and now we can do that basically by catching and looking at stuff that we may have not noticed. And plus, since the show is done, now we can see storylines that they hinted but never explored. So let's talk about it. All right, are we gonna just talk
And
about
then
like
fine.
It's the Handon
um
Diaries.
hand and diary pretty much? So do you want to do character by character, or um since it's probably easier, maybe? I mean, this episode we just pretty got your introduction to the best
You
shows
know,
of all time.
I have to say
But
that there are a lot of pilots out there that aren't like super strong. They don't really get into what the show is about and stuff like that. But I think that the Legacies pilot was very strong. I
It
think that
was really good.
it came out like just really good right from the start, you know.
yeah, I feel like with Legacy's pilot, it's one of those episodes that you can like watch and just enjoy because how they branch off and how they introduce it is so good. Because 1 minute you're seeing like Landon and Ralph in like this regular human world walking in the street, and then the approach of how Hope is introduced, which is her and the lyric coming to the church, and automatically everything goes to crap. Werewolves, they call it Ralph transforming, her shutting up the preacher, and then how it then transitioned to the Salvatore school. It was a good transition, and plus this episode alone was good at introducing each character, like how they introduced like twins, how they introduced the school, and how like wow they're like not only is like Landon and Ralph getting a tour of the school, but technically we are getting a tour of the school as well because I mean, well, we already know how it looked from the originals, but like if anything changed within the 2 years, how is Hope doing and how everybody's adjusting and how
I
the
like
cast is going.
I like how it started. It started with Hope, obviously, but
Yeah,
they reintroduced the characters that we knew that we had met in the originals because technically we had met
Yeah, I hadn't
Lizzie and
seen them.
Josie, but we hadn't met those actors as Lizzie and Josie. So
Yeah,
meeting Danielle and Aria um, in the beginning of that kind of like bringing that world into this new world and kind of introducing Landon as this important character in Hope's life right from the get-go, like her first interaction with a person in this series is with Landon.
yeah. And the thing is, it's kind of hilarious because like in the originals, you didn't really see the older teenage versions of Hope. I mean, Lizzie and Josie. So you're seeing them, and then you're seeing, how they've been doing their interactions with Hope because obviously we don't know how they were with Hope within the 2 years. We're learning about how Hope is dealing with the loss of her family. And then you see that Landon, who was literally just a regular person that Elijah wanted her to go on a little date with, is now her love interest. And I just feel like how it was done, even like how they like try to compel and how they introduce Landon as being something different or something extraordinary was so amazing as well because like I don't know, I just like that pilot was so silent. Like it was solid. I'm talking about some silent. It's so solid because it introduced a lot of storylines that was supposed to happen or occur in season one, but
hmm
they didn't actually do it. One of the big things I thought was going to be emphasized this season was Josie and Ralph, and it really
good job.
flopped. It flopped.
Yeah, because
It just
they
they really like
introduced this whole love triangle of a guy between two sisters in the pilot. And
hmm
so that's what you assumed, if you had watched the Vampire Diaries and stuff. or even the originals, you know, with Elijah and Klaus and Haley almost, even though they weren't a thing, but still, like, you were thinking, okay, well, maybe Rolf is going to come in between Lizzie and Josie. Like, that's kind of like.
And yeah, and it never happened. I feel like one of the things about Ralph and Josie that really got me was that like her saying that about Josie, I mean saying it about Lizzie, which is that she never wins, she always gets the guy, never was proven.
No.
Like it was never proven, it was never denied because it only occurred with Ralph and he lost. I mean, he wasn't intrigued with Lizzie, and with Josie, he got pissed about her not taking land inside in like 105 or whatever. So it was never introduced, and honestly, it only happened off screen. It never was continuous.
You
They
know what
never
else?
did it again.
What else wasn't proven was the whole like, I'm too nice.
Mm. Yeah, like I just feel and again, the thing is, I'm too nice, but yet it
You
wasn't.
set your ex's hair on
Say,
fire in the pilot.
yeah, like you didn't like she like I like it would have made a bigger or a better conflict to keep potentially like 'cause I didn't really care. I mean, I cared about Ralph and Josie, but like they were in my hardcore ship. I liked her and Penelope, but if
Yeah.
if they really wanted them to like milk out a little bit, they could have
Yeah.
had her use that I'm too nice thing to be conflicted and hurt about Landon because yet she would like if she could have said, you know, this is my home, this is my family, this is, you know, a safe place for us. But, you know, I don't want Landon to be alone like how I was, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That would have made something because she's conflicted, opposed for her just saying no from the get-go and shit like that. Like I feel like they really fumbled with Josie and Ralph as well. And then but the whole thing that's really was the biggest fallout was they made it seem like she always loses, which is supposed to make us feel like, oh, she's the underrated, she's the one that everybody looks over. Like if they really wanted us to be sold on that storyline, they should have done that. They should have had Ralph. Um, they should have talked. They should have insisted on it
They
longer.
shouldn't have made her set her ex's hair on fire if they wanted us to think that she was the nicest character in the show.
Yeah, if they wanted us to like care about her and like this, oh you know, I never win or my sister's always the winner of everything, they should have had more flashbacks or should have talked more, should have had more scenes with them because it automatically did a switch by the end of season one where Josie was the one that was obviously doing more spells than Lizzie, and the one that overpowered Lizzie with when they found out about the merge and stuff like that. Like and then with Lizzie, like only thing I feel like the only time they actually said that she always wins is when she was the one that was alive and the theoretical like I wish Hope was never born thing. But like Lizzie barely won anything over Josie, but just her being more outspoken.
You know,
Like so it kind of just like they didn't know they kind of stopped they flopped with that. They flopped with the Lizzie and Ralph thing. They flopped with the Penelope and Josie thing. They could have explored more. I just feel like with 16 episodes, y'all had more time. And
Yeah.
it just like I just feel like everything fell flat sometimes. And like even episodes that didn't even have to have Landon and Hope as a focus because Landon was gone for some episodes, they still did not, you know, they like this episode highlighted so much stuff that should have been covered but wasn't at all.
speaking of the pilot just on its own, I like without all the other episodes, I didn't connect with either of the twins. I didn't like Josie. I knew that. I was neutral on Lizzie because I kind of liked the fact that she was like when she had that freak out with her dad and you know stuff like that, like you could kind of see the underneath that all, but I
Yeah, the
still
human side
didn't.
of her.
Yeah, exactly. And it made me feel like sympathetic towards her because like you could tell obviously that she was living in almost the shadow of her sister, even though her sister said that she was living in the shadow of Lizzie, you know what I mean? But people didn't like Lizzie, and so that she was kind of like the underdog in that sense, and I kind of really connected with that, but I still didn't really like either one of them to begin with. But like Hope and Landon, obviously, I loved Hope. I mean, Hope was obviously, and then Landon from the originals. So it was, I liked that the pilot focused mainly on Hope and Landon.
Yeah, I feel like I just didn't. I mean, when I watched the first episode, I mean, I was like, okay, with everybody else, but I don't think I actually had a favorite besides just Hope and Landon as well because with Ralph, he's a new character which we don't know. We don't know any prior experience to him. I see the twins as people who didn't like Hope, which was like, okay, I don't like Hope no more. Y'all are against her, whatever. Sure. Lizzie, I saw a little bit of her when she had that, when she was in the kitchen with her dad. And I was intrigued to see what she was going to do, what she was going to develop later on the season. The introduction between MG and Lizzie, I wasn't really intrigued with at the time. I was just like, okay, well, he's going to be crushing on her. Let's see how long that is milked or developed. And with Penelope, I was like, okay, well, she's a bitch, but I want to see what's going to happen.
I fell in love with Penelope the first episode.
I love how they
Yeah.
be like, Josie is such a good girl, and then like the first episode, she's like burning Penelope's hair
Yeah.
of jealousy.
Yeah, like we're over
Yeah,
here
we
like,
got
oh yeah,
Penelope out
I'm
of that freaking,
And they
or
didn't
Lulu
really
out of that freaking wig or whatever it was, because we all know
Yeah.
she had short
Yeah.
hair.
and they didn't really like they said that, oh, that's her evil ex, but really the way that they said it, it's and then showed Josie the one burning her at the end. It was like, who's really the evil ex here?
Yeah.
nah,
Like,
for real. I'm just like,
I do really like how diverse the cast was too, like right from the beginning.
Yes.
yeah. And I do
And
like how they kind of like I feel like they look kind of young. Like they look so young
Yeah.
in
yeah,
their roles.
they
And
were
they
so
and they
cute.
definitely definitely gave me like their
Danielle looks so. I feel like the only one who
Baby.
really didn't change like was Ari,
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think Arya didn't really change much.
because they wouldn't let him have the beard, so he was shaved the entire time,
Yeah.
and then, like you never
No,
really saw a
don't.
difference.
The only
Please,
thing was his
please,
hair. His hair was the only thing that changed
please.
so
His hair
much.
went through so much.
You
Why
know,
would
his
you
clothes didn't.
why would you even bring this up? Because remember when we thought he was gonna have like that wild hair in season 3 and
Oh, remember episode 12 of season 3, we got like long hair Landon for like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
he
Rob.
like we were like, that's
we
all
were
we're gonna and then he cut his hair the next episode and we were like, but you
and we
didn't
didn't
even
you didn't
pilot
get to see it?
in season 1, his hair was quite like it was longer. I like
Yeah.
the
The
style.
curls was like
Yeah.
loose, but like then
I
they put
have
the damn gel in his hair.
I have season I think this I don't know what season. I want to say this is season 3 on my wall. Promo pictures, and Arya's hair is very short.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
very short.
Yeah, but
The fact that he's now using a buzz cut. Oh my God.
neither they but yeah, episode 1 was definitely something. I feel like the best thing that they did was introduce the love story of Handon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, that's what this and
But
it was
I was the only one that thought that the first kiss was like too much.
No, listen. I
First
was I
episode.
wasn't sure if I wanted to mention it, but I'm like I would have liked the first kiss to have been later.
The buzz stop
The
kiss.
bus
Yeah,
stop,
the
yeah,
buzz,
that would have
the
been a
buzz,
perfect.
yeah, the buzz was still there. I'm not gonna hold you. And I understand why they did it. I understand why they did it because, like, imagine
they
that
figured that
happening, and then he forgets.
yeah, and then he
First
forgets that he
kiss,
was shooting
I
his
think
shot and then
I think the first kiss was my least favorite of theirs.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
feel like
shit.
it was
that made me think of something, but I'll have to tell you guys off camera.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't know. I feel like season 1 had a lot of kisses that I didn't like because the coloring was
Oh,
horrible.
don't even.
Like
Horrible.
that blue is the worst. I don't think you can ever get it normal.
Is it sad that we could probably name all the kisses?
Yeah, I mean
There
it's
are
not
some
bad.
of the kisses that was so dark.
It was some, yes, a
Like
lot.
the fireplace,
109,
the fireplace,
105.
Fireplace.
Yeah,
You just hear the
109.
sound.
Yeah. You can see the silhouette of them. Like, can y'all please stop pissing me off? Like,
I was like,
But
damn, we went into it.
it
Shit.
was kind of cute, this first kiss,
yeah,
because of
108
all
too.
the set. Yeah.
Every scene was orange and blue. We were fighting for our lives.
Oh,
I need Julie Plec. Like Julie Plec wanted to level up in Vampire Academy with the coloring. Y'all should have did it
yeah.
for these.
When I think about Handon, I'm like green, because that shit was all green,
Yo,
green,
yeah,
blue.
green, orange,
Green
and
like the color of his eye.
Oh God,
yellow. Okay,
triggered.
calm down.
I'm
Calm
having a
down.
moment. I'm having a moment.
Oh, cause yeah, I feel like that like yes, like the kids could have been marinated, but I liked it. For me, especially since I didn't watch at the time, I didn't watch the originals yet, or I stopped watching the originals before Danielle came. So at that time, it was a good insight to introduce me to the ship. I was like, yo, let's go. But I also think it shows Hope's conflict and the potential storyline that she's going to be encountering the whole show, which is about Landon more so, and how she feels protective over him because she wants him to find a home and be safe. But then obviously since he's human, he can't be there. And then to like have try to make his trauma more peaceful because he was obviously in the cage for a while, and that's tight
Mm-hmm.
spaces. But to see like how she cared about him, even though she doesn't like she only danced with him once 2 years ago, that was still stuck in his mind for 2 years, and it was damn sure stuck in
Okay,
her
but
mind for
like,
2 years.
if you have a crush for like 2 years is a long time,
And you
and to
didn't
move
see
away,
them.
and the fact that both of them in the car were like, we danced once and he brought me milkshakes means that the both of them were
Losers.
still thinking about each other two
You're
years later.
losers.
Both
And then
losers.
and yeah, and then the fact that she couldn't sleep because she knew he was there and he couldn't sleep because he was scared of small spaces, and the way that they connected in that
How can
moment.
Yeah, how can you like remember something for 2 years ago?
two
You danced for
years, like,
Like, do you remember
55
your
and
crush
seconds.
from 2 years ago? Like, that's not a celebrity, like some random person that you like knew, or whatever.
I
Like,
just know Hope was like, what what is Linda right now? She would remember. She'd go to the Mystic Grill and he wasn't there to
but
give
she,
her
yeah, like
yeah, and she
she
was
giving.
was
so
like she.
happy to see him. Like,
Mm,
it was just like she
yeah,
was shocked, but then she was in the car and the way she was smiling at him, and she's like, "We danced once."
It
Or,
was like kind of pity of her when she say like then he moved. Like he probably moved without
yeah.
telling her.
yeah,
We saw some.
and
We
she,
tried, and then
yeah,
moved away.
and she was probably like, "I wonder where he went, or like what happened to him, or like we danced and it was great and then he moved."
And then he moved, damn
Yeah,
Landon.
what that mean? Hope, like, you mad that he moved? Like, yo, did y'all keep in contact after y'all dance? Like, what's going on?
Let's
But
Like,
yeah,
discuss
like,
that.
there's so much backstory that they could have done there. I mean, I like that they brought it
Uh,
in from the originals, but there's so much backstory that they could have done that they never did.
that's
That,
literally the issue with Handon. We never got any
like,
backstory
I
of him.
wish in the pilot they had Hope having a discussion, maybe even with Alaric, when he was like, "Oh, you two," like, remember when they were training and
Yeah.
oh yeah,
he was like, "Oh, you like him," and she was like, "Yeah, because he was normal." I wish that there was some sort of
oh
more
no, don't.
explanation about how they met, like how long they had known each other, like that sort of thing. Like, even just like a little before Josie interrupted because Lizzie was having that episode.
Yeah, you mentioning I like him because he's normal kind of pissed me off. Because within seasons after that, him becoming a human being normal was her worst problem every season after that.
Yeah, it's like she didn't
Like
want him to
she
be
likes him because he's
normal.
normal. She likes him because he's normal, and then he's normal, and she complains about it. Like, you're normal. Go in the prison world. You're normal, so I need you to stay inside. You're normal, so I need you to get on the bus so you don't get hurt. Like Hope, you say you like him because he's normal, and then you proceed to make that his biggest weakness, to where he was like, "If I'm human, what will happen next?" Like, I'm just like, they never developed on that. Like, obviously now since we're reflecting on the pilot to later on, that was one of the biggest things that was never fully developed. Like, they made it seem like she like was understanding his trauma, how he felt and stuff like that in this episode. But then later on the season, it doesn't really matter because him being human and her being supernatural, even when he became supernatural, was still a big problem. We never found a balance between Handon. And this episode alone showed that they had so much like behind the scene background chemistry from like before prior to Legacies, and it was never mentioned. And this was an ongoing continuation of Handon having ongoing conversations that we never see, such
But
as the
Hmm.
backpack in Europe.
yeah, but then
Wow, what did that?
you could almost kind of see the relief on her face when she could explain who she was and what she was to him, though, too, even though she knew that I mean, she figured that he wouldn't remember it, but it was almost like, because she had been a recluse for 2 years and the only person she
Hmm.
really talked to was Alaric, and so having someone on the outside like Landon who was so understanding and someone she liked who didn't judge her for being what she was, there was almost that relief of, oh my god, like, maybe I don't have to be so closed off because people actually will like me for like me and not what I am, or like dislike me for what I am.
Yeah. And I feel like it definitely got kind of helped her get some stress off her shoulder because when she danced with him, obviously 2 years before, she had a secret. She had to leave at a certain time. He didn't know why, or when she kept trying to avoid like his, outgoing pursuing. Now he knew why. He knew why she was at this certain boarding school, and that I feel like she wanted to clear whatever idea or concept he had about her in her school because obviously, the Mystic Fall High School, they have this certain thing of this that they go to the rich boarding school and they think they're better than everybody and they think they're rich. And to see that she's like trying to clear her name, that she's not just whatever he probably heard from the hallway gossip, but she's supernatural and she obviously go through a lot because she lost her family, her parents. And the fact that she opened up to him this fast is probably alarming, and it really showed how much they're going to be important this whole show because
Yeah.
she didn't see him in 2 years, and she automatically was telling him her family life story, which is something that she doesn't really talk about. Let's be honest, out of this whole show, she doesn't talk about her parents a lot. I mean, to
No.
anybody, she didn't talk about it with the twins barely. Like
Well,
she barely wanted to interact with the
if
play about her family.
if you think about it, she's going to a school where there are books written about her family that don't put them in a good light. And so
Yeah,
she just figures she's the villain's child. And when Landon says to her like evil is relative, it was almost like a breath for her because it was like, oh my gosh, like you didn't know my dad and you're just going off of kind of what I'm saying, but you're not
and believe her. Yeah.
judging him, you're not believing what is being written in these books.
hmm Because the lawyer still had them books in. Like he literally was like, "Okay, your dad and it's trash. Here's a book." And like she never really talked to anybody about her dad, but she trusted somebody that she hasn't seen in 2 years, and she gave him the whole scoop, and she wasn't afraid about it. She even told about her grandma and how she was a tribrid, and like she wasn't limited to not be open to him, just like how he was to her. And
Yeah.
he was never judgmental. So it was like she probably was like so much relief of like all this tension she held in for 2 years about how people are looking at her a certain way because of her dad and her mom or whatever her dad
Hmm.
done in the past, to see this guy that she doesn't really even know like that say, well, my dad was trash, but it's not who you are. It was it was I ate that shit up. I'm not gonna hold
Yeah.
you up. Like I
And
was
I think
it
that
up.
yeah, I think that when you meet some people that we kind of feel safe, we don't know why, but like we just like we want to tell everything about us for them. And like we barely know the people, but like we have this feeling that yeah, I can trust you and I feel that you're a good person. So I think that's kind of what happened too because and like Landon listened to her. He just
Yeah.
listened. He was
Yeah.
the one who asked. He wanted to know her
Yeah.
better.
And like despite Landon's background, which we kind of learned about in the pilot, he was still this nice guy.
Yeah.
He was still such a baby even though he was treated so poorly.
Yeah, and he like he was just a bright soul, and he always saw the good in everybody. And I feel like one of the things like I love about him is that like he just was there. He just wanted to open up, and he even like what's funny to me is that this is probably the most open I've seen Landon to like go pursuing hope, like going all out because
Yeah.
he must have been starving. Like the kiss, him asking her all these
The pilot
questions,
was
trying to get
insane.
information.
That man,
He was going in. Like this is the only time you really see Landon full on like be like, yo, listen. Let me give
it
her
was
all the
like
interest.
that was
Let her
his
know.
one chance.
That was his one chance, and he wanted her to know. Like I like because he was going all out questions. The kid before he leaves, you're a good person. Hope Michael's. I'm like, sir, you're doing a lot. Or
The smile she gave him after that line was insane.
yeah. And what was the other one that was like,
Okay, but
you always see him leave?
let's talk about the fact that she jumped him when she was a wolf and
Oh
was
my
like,
God.
I could have killed you because her wolf's instincts are different
She could have
when
killed
she's
him.
a wolf, and she did not kill him. She phased immediately.
Yeah, she got the shirt. I mean, his hoodie. I
And
mean,
he
his
got the
jacket.
shirt exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
fact she was naked
She was
on
naked,
top of
yeah.
him. No words.
But the fact that she was able to control her wolf
No, she hasn't.
Yeah.
She barely probably used one,
from
to be
a
honest.
running prey, basically, and changed mid-air because she knew who it was. She recognized a scent or something.
And we know that after that these 2 years, Hope was like closed and she was like sad and depressed. And like the twins, and we found out after that the twins have been so shitty to her since childhood.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
Landon coming back was like he was the first person that showed her like kindness, and
Hmm.
that she felt like she say like he's normal like him because he treated her like a normal person. Like for
Yeah.
the other people, she was like Carl Maxon's daughter, or for the twin, she's
Yeah.
like the person who stole my dad and this stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like since her saying that he was normal, that was like her opening to not just be like what everybody knows as Hope's, Hope Michelson. She was just Hope Michelson or Hope Marshall. Like
Yeah,
seeing him again after 2 years was like, oh yeah, that's how I was before him. I was Hope Marshall. I had, my mom and dad at the time. I had my family, and just seeing somebody that she's seen from her past, when she like at a different stage of her life, and then seeing how they just like see her just as a normal person because he didn't know a supernatural world and I just feel like how they handled them was definitely amazing, even though they flopped with Handon.
Well, yeah,
My biggest
that's the thing I think is it's less the fact that he was normal, it was the fact that he made her feel
feel
normal.
normal. Yeah,
uh,
he made her feel normal
yeah,
and not judge. I think she forgot she was a Hope Mike's son with him.
yeah,
She
she
was just
did.
Hope. She was just
Yeah.
Hope, a teenage girl that wanted to be heard and understood, and he
Have
did
a
that for her.
have a crush, true love.
I'm
Um,
gonna start crying, guys. It's so sick.
I'm trying to keep. I'm just so like I feel like the best thing that's keeping me grounded is how pissed off they made me feel in season 4.
Yeah,
So I'm not even like they ruined everything for me. But and I just feel like it's one of the tropes because the reason why I was also intrigued into Handon so heavily when I first started was because it reminded me of the Hunger Games, or more so not the Hunger Games, but the power dynamic trope, which was
hmm,
like it's always the guy being the protector and stuff like that, while
yes,
the girl was always the like, oh, I'm shy, I'm a damsel in distress, and to see like automatically off the bat, you're seeing Hope is one protecting Landon, and she's more the one that she's obviously supernatural, so she can do the protecting and all that. To
yeah,
see that be like, because I don't really see that much in TV shows, especially during that time, and to see Hope and Landon have that dynamic, which I didn't see it since the Hunger Games, I was like, oh, damn, yeah, I was like, it was I haven't seen it since the Hunger Games, so it was refreshing to see the power dynamic, and I just loved Handed so much.
You
Like, I
don't
don't know.
see a lot of that. Yeah, you don't see a lot of that dynamic. You don't see a lot of like vulnerable men,
yes,
and
Yeah,
female
definitely.
heroes. It's usually the other way
Yeah.
around. That's usually what people eat up. And the thing is people didn't like the people who didn't like Handon was because of the fact that she was a powerful female and he let her be a powerful female.
Mhm.
Like he he stood by and like supported her being this powerful superhero, powerful female, without judging
Yeah.
her, and it's refreshing. Like it's
Yeah, it's
such a good.
refreshing because it reminds me of the Hunger Game era, especially because I remember a lot of people didn't like PETA because of the reason why people are trashing Landon now, and now PETA is like the most loved. And like, oh, PETA can never do wrong. And I'm just like back then people used to trash PETA for everything that Landon is getting trashed for now, and
yeah.
obviously like I bet you some years people are like, oh my God, Landon was so amazing. I'm like, oh really? Were y'all
Now,
out there for getting trashed
Because
because
okay, if you think about it, this show was kind of a love letter to Buffy, right? So Landon was going to be the Buffy to Hope's angel or something
Mhm.
like that, right? Hope being angel and then whatever. That's what Julie had said in an interview. But could you have imagined the uproar that would have happened had they had Buffy fall in love with Xander, who is basically like
oh
what
God,
Landon as a character, like the softer, even though Xander has his issues that Landon never had.
Xander's dumb.
But like that, and that's a whole Joss thing. That's a whole separate issue. But imagine what would have happened, the uproar, if Buffy hadn't been matched with someone of her same caliber, of her same power. And that's what Hope was matched at first with someone who did not have the same power that she held. Now, eventually, yes, he is a supernatural and stuff, but he still didn't have as much power despite being a supernatural. Like he
Yeah.
didn't really
Hmm.
have any power until the last season. But like
And it wasn't even power though. Like,
no, it wasn't even
Yeah,
power. It was basically his power was to live forever, basically, and that didn't even happen. So
live
what do
forever
you?
being sad and
why would you say
alone.
that? Why
But
would
like
you
I think
say that?
that always with like to say about Peter and Katniss and Landon and Hope, even about Ava and Beatrice, like these heroines always like have everyone like, oh, you need to do this and you have to save mankind and you have to save the school and you have to, ta-na-na, ta-na-na-na-na. They always telling them to do something, and because, but like we see like with the love interest is always someone that sees them for who they are. They never seen them like as
And
a
doesn't
hero.
fault them for what they have to do.
Yeah, they love them because they are them, and they always have this calm personality to calm them down, so they feel safe with them. And like they never like asking them like, oh, but you saved these people, but why didn't you save me? And like I have to be the first one on your priority. They never do that. They just literally genuinely wants to be there for them and help them to do what they have to do because they understand how heavy it's for them to carry this. And normally just the love interest understand that, and everyone else just like, oh, but it's like you born for this. Yeah, she's born for this, but like how does she feel about it? Is she
You
feel
know,
good? Is she okay with this? Is she
yeah.
Yeah.
is she going
And
through this alone? Like the
Hmm.
all of this, and I think the similarities of these couples that you guys talked about and
yeah,
what made them so special because everyone else is just like wanting something for them
yeah,
and them
exactly.
not.
And Landon was literally the only one who never expected Hope to be the hero. He
Yeah,
was
Yeah.
exactly.
always like, I need to help, I need to research, I need to do this. He never just waited around like everyone else, literally everyone else in that school waited around for Hope to do something.
Exactly.
Exactly. And it kind of like really shows that for him to be just a human, a normal human, he was the one that did most of the work, most of the help. Just like a lyric, even though lyric is trash, he was still a human this whole show, and he helped Hope as well in some degrees, not always, but like him and Landon and Dorian was the ones that always helped Hope, while the supernatural kids were doing nothing but being scared when they had more abilities than most of the villains that we've encountered. The only time I would actually question them being scared about anything was the last villain of season 4. Other than that, like this, like literally, Hope was like the captain of the fucking school. Like she was the automatic bullet. She was the shield for the school. And you get introduced to her as the shield. Like,
Well, people
she,
hated her at
yeah,
first.
yeah,
Everyone in
yeah,
the
yeah,
school
yeah.
hated her.
Oh yeah, yeah. They hated her, but even though they hated her, she was still a shield regardless because Alert used her, helped her. Well, not used, like used her in season 1 as the person that would help patrol these monsters. Like, regardless of how much they hated Hope in the beginning and even like whatever, how they felt for it to the wars to end, she was still the one that was going to protect the school regardless. Because already they probably already had blood of her and down and whatever it was, just in case somebody got bit by a werewolf. Like she already was helping the school that much. She already was providing for the school. And to see like she could break away from that and talk to Landon and stuff like that, and then Landon also helping her, not judging her, it was something that she needed besides this trashy ass school who painted her as this villain and they couldn't wait to try to kill her in later seasons. I just feel like this episode alone showed how much
Well,
potential this show had,
yeah.
and it just fell flat.
Well, and
And
also like the way that they introduced it and the way they introduced it later is that Hope and Landon obviously had some sort of connection because she was literally the only thing. She was basically made to kill his father. Like that's the whole purpose of why she was made. And then they happen to meet each other and fall in love. At first, in the originals, they happen to live in the same town as each other, even though he was a foster kid. Like there were so many more strings being pulled on the outside. Um, and they happen to have one of the keys at the Salvatore school. And yet, I know it wasn't explained in the pilot, but like they should have, I think, in the pilot, kind of explained or kind of like hinted at the connected destiny between the two of them. I think that would have been
because it doesn't like it, even though we know now that they were destined to meet each other at some point, it feels like it was a kind of a convenience thing because Ralph was the centerpiece. Like how they met each other was through Ralph again. And I feel like it would have made more sense if, they met each other with that because obviously Ralph is the one that is obviously the supernatural Landon isn't. But I wish when they met, it was not because of a circumstance like, oh shit, you were just conveniently there because I was conveniently looking at what was being caught of our attention. But I mean, it should have been a better way to meet them or something like that, as if so it can be more destined to why they were going to meet up at some point, because they're making it seem like they were going to meet at any point because obviously they're destined to encounter each other. But I feel like that wasn't true because she just saw him through Ralph. Imagine if Landon stayed home and it was just Ralph. Wish she had met Landon at some point. Like how far would it have taken for her to actually meet him if Ralph was alone. Um, but I feel like with Landon and Hope, they changed so many things that made them such an intriguing ship, obviously in the
Yeah.
beginning, because they just stopped doing it. And I
They
feel like
retconned a lot of things. Like
yeah, they retconned a lot of things. They made unnecessary problems. And the thing is that I feel like they relied on a lot of ships just being in like only the way a ship can be in an episode is by having drama to the point that the drama was just a repeating
What I
story.
like what I like about the pilot is that there's no fan service in it. It is so uniquely its own story. And
Yeah.
as the seasons go on, you can see the fan service in the show.
Yeah, I just feel like it was generic. It was of its own. It was whatever the writers had in mind instead of trying to please people. Like they didn't have to please people because they already had what they written. And I feel like this fandom got so comfortable with trying to paint their own, head canons or whatever into the writing to where it didn't make sense. And they had a plot line that they wanted to aim for and they did it. But then later on in the show, that fan service in season 2 with Kai
Yeah.
and shit like that, you already can see how that shifted storylines being developed to where it literally backfired everything else that was coming. Everything else that happened after that, it got destroyed because of that fan service. And like the pilot just showed, like you had the Mrs. Slowburn, you had Handon, and and him, and then Landon potentially being some supernatural force that Meg, because he still remembered, and then you got him potentially being a villain because he stole the knife. You got Ralph and this potential love triangle between the sisters, which could have finally ended with either Josie losing, which continued the thing of I never win, or she could have finally broke the curse because it ain't like they share any more crushes afterwards. That could have worked out, and then her losing Ralph could have been on her own terms, which is Landon leaving, instead of it being dropped after a kiss because the kiss led to nowhere. They didn't mention the kiss. Because I'm sorry we're moving forward. I mean, we're moving back and forth, but obviously we can because we already know the show. We're just saying how season 1 after the pilot didn't flow anything else. You got a potential. Well, I don't think it was hinted this episode in the pilot, but the MG storyline, like there were so many things that was, and then Penelope, and then like the magic and stuff like that, and like it was just so the feeling that it got, like it was given like I don't know, like the feel that school gave me at that time in the pilot, it gave me like this like dark, kind of like a dark school, whatever, not in a bad way, but like the school, like whatever, and I feel like it got lost over time. Like the school became a happy home
Well,
by the end of the show.
yeah, and they kind of hinted in the pilot that Landon was evil because they were like, oh, well, if he can't be compelled, then, he is a supernatural creature.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
him taking the knife and then the bus and like all of that. And
And then yeah, like they should have dragged on that. So then when he actually became Malivore, and like they did anything with that either, Brett, they could have it could have hit home more because y'all we kind of like imagine if they faked us out, but not really fake us out. Like Malivore was controlling him. That like if that lasted longer, and it wasn't like joked upon and like it would have been better because imagine Malivor's controlling Landon and him not even knowing. Like imagine Landon is like finding these artifacts in there and he's leading them to monsters uncoincidentally, and then you find out later in that season that Malivore is like he's controlling Landon in some way that's not physical, but he's kind of controlling him. So then when Malivore happened and how he controlled Landon, it would have made more sense
The
because
potential.
yeah, because they said that Landon had a pull to these artifacts, and you're like, how? Like how? What is Malivore doing to have a hold on Landon to where he's getting these objects out of nowhere, and then when he gets possessed by Malivore, and then it's never emphasized. So they never explained that at all.
What I didn't understand is why Hope needed Josie to do that spell. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like
Josie,
Hope
she doesn't have her own magic, so she's just siphoning Hope's magic. So she's just taking.
I think
magic.
she didn't manipulate Josie because she needed someone to do black magic, and Josie was
that's
already
true. I
was already on the
it's
path.
hilarious that she manipulated Josie to do it because like they're not friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel like I don't know why they did that. And then now, by the end of the show, she becomes a foot triber and she can just summon a god. Like they didn't
Yeah.
even build up that. Like now she just got the out of all the power in the world to summon anybody. But in the whole other course of 3 seasons, she had to rely on everybody else to help her. Like I hated that they under, and then you also can see the start of them trying to underpower her to the point that now, like, by everybody else is saying that somebody else is more powerful than her by the end of the season.
Well,
Like,
literally, I think the only reason they did that too was to force some sort of relationship because otherwise there's no reason for her to interact with the twins because they
yeah,
already proved in the originals and
yeah,
stuff that they hated each other.
and that's the thing that kind of annoyed me though is that like I guess that was their reason to try to get them to interact in between 3 and 4 with the school thing. But the thing is that 3 and 4 could have been their first interaction when, Josie and Hope would have been talking and then, she would have been like, oh, sorry about my sister, because obviously Lizzie was shading Hope every chance she got. It would have made sense if their first like actual introduction was 3 and 4, then them doing magic when Hope didn't really need anybody to do magic. Like what? I just don't. Like, I feel like they try to make a reason to why they all were together or have an interaction, but they should have done it a better way. I just feel like so much stuff, and it probably doesn't even matter because ain't like they really talked about it ever again.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff in the pilot was
They
just
don't.
like
It
there,
was
like
like Julie was saying that she was testing the waters also too with the
Yeah,
relationships
and you can
and
really see
everything.
that in the pilot is kind of like her kind of dipping her paintbrush in all these different like paints and kind of seeing like what was gonna stick,
Yeah, what
what
would
people were
stick
gonna like.
exactly. But I think the one thing she did right since the pilot was showcase Landon's and Raphael relationship.
Well, that
yeah,
yeah, that was, and then Hope and Landon as well, because we
Yeah,
know from interviews that Hope and Landon were the main focus of the show to begin with.
yeah.
So
yeah.
And I think Raphael was always like very devoted to Landon.
Yeah, and
And
yeah,
oh yeah, the
yeah,
also one thing I don't like though is that they introduced Rob as a central character because he was basically brought there to find a home.
mm-hmm.
And then he literally got abandoned after that. Like they stopped
Yeah.
caring about him literally right
It was
after.
like Raphael wasn't even supposed to be a character. And then
Yeah,
they
yeah,
kept
like
Peyton for last
he was like used to get
to
Landon and Hope
to get
together.
Landon
that was
exactly.
basically
Because
it. Yeah.
Landon in the first trailer, Landon was supposed to not know that Hope was a witch. He was get suspected and the scene of him writing on the diary, somehow they changed that. And then I think they needed to bring Landon to the school somehow.
Yeah. Like they literally like brought Rolf there for no reason and then left him there. And then he barely was mentioned in season 4.
It
Like
was a plot device.
And
It
then
was
it
a
became
plot
like,
device as much as that black magic spell was a plot
yeah,
device. It was all just a way to get from point A to point B and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I'm happy now that Peyton is thriving and the show is actually using his talent
hmm
well. Make sure to stream All American Homecoming. Yes, he is. He's going to be flourishing in the next couple weeks. He's going to be crying his ass off, and I'm gonna eat it up.
Okay,
So yeah,
so to wrap up the pilot episode, why don't we do what we did with the other episodes is favorite scene and also not or an MVP. So favorite scene and MVP.
yeah,
So
the one for first episode.
yeah.
My favorite scene of, oh God, I'm thinking way back.
Yeah. Not too struggling.
God, I don't know.
Bam.
Damn. Want me to do mine so you can have
Yeah.
time to think about it?
Yeah.
Okay. My favorite scene was Hope and Landon's talk at the in the cage when he was inside and she was obviously there with him and to, like trying to get him to get comfortable and they were talking. And I just feel like it was yeah, it was I was gonna see that or the one when they were in the library, but
I
I
was
feel
gonna
like the
say the
cage
library.
was
The
something
library.
yeah.
You said that and I remembered it. It's not the one where he goes to touch the knife, but when they're talking about her mom and her dad, and
Yeah.
then they're around that table or whatever it is. She's like, the people that I care about have a tendency to die on me. So
Mhm.
yeah, you
And
can say that. Shit.
yeah, and what's your MVP?
Hope.
Yeah. Um, Favorite scene was the Kate the obviously the Kate scene, and I feel like you kind of see Landon really trying to get to Hope and try to get her to open up, even though they were like and how he was talking about like you always leave. She said you always go. And she's like, what do you want? Always leave. I was like, okay, Landon, you're pushing it, but also you kind of see him open up about like the spaces, like his trauma, which is never talked about again. But it also kind of shows that even though she's not supposed to care about him this much, this human that's going to get his memories erased, she still wanted to make this like last bit of time he had before he gets his, compelled, at least peaceful or like somewhat he at least have company. And if he was just a random person, she wouldn't have not cared that much. And it really shows that he was somewhat important to her. So that was my favorite scene. And MVP, honestly, Landon, my son. I'm always gonna ride for my son Landon. Who next?
My favorite scene is when she showed him the memory and he was like, "You did that for me." That
Oh
I
yes.
just the way that he didn't even think that anyone was there for him or even noticed him. And yet here is this girl who he had been crushing on for God knows how long. And she had done that for him and then showed him 2 years later that she was the reason for one of his best memories of that day. Like the fact that he danced with her that day. He was like, in the cage, in your favorite scene, he was like, just remembering the day we danced. I had had a good day. And to realize that Hope was the reason
Oh
for that
yeah.
good day, like
Oh
it was just
yeah.
so powerful of a scene, that small little moment of, oh my gosh, you did this for me. No one has ever done anything like that for me. Like it was, I can't even imagine how he was feeling in that moment.
Yeah, you won't kiss
Um,
it.
like,
You
so
won't-
that's my favorite scene, even though it's so little. And I mean, obviously MVP is Hope because like it's Hope and it's the pilot and she's the whole show. So
My favorite scene is also the one she showed him the flashbacks
Mhm.
because it's so I don't know, even remembering like Lyndon telling her like I had a good day
The
and
buzz.
her face was like yeah like she didn't know that she was the one that exploded the damn car for him and
Like,
everything and like the fact that she was literally she chose to dance with him when she thought that she was dying that night. That this
yeah.
little stuff about
yes,
Handon is just so significant.
I
I just
wonder, I wonder if she told him that if
I
if
she
he
probably did,
knew
and we
if
didn't see
he
it.
knew that she was dying, like later on, like in their relationship,
Yeah,
if I want to know if she told him that Elijah is the one, like he purposely made sure that he could be
yeah.
there so that they can dance, and also that the thing that she had to do was potentially because she thought she was gonna die.
I think she did because she she she. Oh my God, I forgot the word.
yeah, I thought she probably told him at least when he
Yeah,
died the time.
yeah. She
Around
probably
that time
told him.
frame.
Yeah, because she showed him the letter, and then she had to explain the day that her dad died, and then everything was involved and all.
Yeah. So it's definitely
And
towards like later season one
that was
ish.
one thing that we should have seen it that she showing the letter and telling him about calls and everything. It was so important for the story, and we didn't see anything. That's just shitty.
No,
We didn't see nothing.
they always like made their talks off screen, and we never got them.
Yeah, I hate it. If, anyways, that's my favorite scene, and my MVP is definitely Hope and Landon because I think both got very amazing introductions, and we like we got the Hope mindset and what she was and what she wanted to be, and we get like Landon and this mystery is like, did he stole the knife because he wanted or not? And we're like, he's the villain. He's like, it was so amazing to see this.
Yeah, and
So
then like
amazing.
they, oh my god, but you imagine if they continued the fucking potential Landon being a villain
Mm.
storyline because she said he's
And
gonna be a
then
villain.
like
I'm
he
gonna be
fall
a
in
villain
love
of
with
his.
Hope.
I'm
I
gonna be a
Imagine,
so
villain of
badly
oh my,
his.
wanted an evil
wait,
Landon storyline. Like,
yeah, imagine if it was like he met his dad and then his dad, Malivore, and then he had this plan and he's like, oh, I know Hope Michelson. And then he was like to manipulate Hope, but like he was falling in love with her slowly. So then he changed sides and helped Hope destroy his dad. That would be so amazing. But like,
you know what?
Yeah.
ugh,
You know what I didn't understand is I know we're skipping forward to when we find out what Landon is, but like if the triad were so powerful, how come they didn't keep tabs on Landon, and why did they just like let him go into foster care? Like you think they'd actually almost keep him in some sort of like safe facility because he's potentially a key that could unlock Malivore. Like it's almost like they knew that Sayla came out pregnant. They didn't keep tabs on her and then didn't think about the baby. Like that's almost like, you know, if there's like an alien that crashes to the ground, the government's gonna freaking, you know, like test the alien to find out like how it works and stuff like that. Well, she just come out of this pit pregnant. Like they're supposedly this like powerful company, and yet Landon just fell through the cracks.
Yeah, I don't. I just feel like, I just, Landon was one of the biggest question marks ever because like, there's no way that the Triad, who is, you know, the Triad was inconsistent, obviously, you see in season 4, but like, the Triad knows everything, has files supposedly of everything, but Landon was just the biggest question mark.
Honestly.
It was just one
Yeah.
of the biggest things.
But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest
Questions for
thing.
later.
Like that's one of the biggest things that I've always been confused about is that like the Triad knows everything and yet they didn't. Landon Kirby was just no, like okay, that's interesting. But yeah, so that was our pilot, season 1, episode 1, obviously, of Legacies. Let us know what was your favorite scene. You know, we're getting nostalgic here, so tell us some things that you noticed that never happened in future seasons, and things that you wish was explored in the comment section down below. Once again, our social media will be linked. Once again, some of us are just watching new shows, chilling out, or reacting to new shows. And yeah, you know what? You know what? Honestly, I'm feeling adventurous. Fuck it. If y'all want to do a book club, let us know. Since we're
Yeah.
almost
Yes.
reading books,
Book club. I love it.
Book
Oh,
club.
if y'all want to read, if y'all want to like join me reading Shadow and Bones to prepare for March, let us know.
Yeah. Why don't you
Yeah.
just you said about books, why you don't give like a recommendation? Like I read this one
Oh,
called All
yeah.
Girls Do. Some girls do, and I think if you like sapphic books and LGBTQ books,
Yeah,
and that was a
one
very
last
good.
stop. Yeah. Another sapphic one is One Last Stop. Also, the one that I think I read was Change of Heart. That was one. Right now
Have
I'm
you
reading
read
Percy
Kisser Once
Jackson.
for Me yet, Naj? The one that I gave you
Oh
in
yeah,
the
not the one that not the one you gave. It's right here next to my bookshelf. I need to get
I'm
that.
reading the romance recipe right now.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. But yeah, also Percy Jackson, since a show is coming out soon, and also a Shadow and Bones, join me. I need to read the second book ASAP. But yes, y'all wanted to do book clubs or talk to us about things, let us know. Or just comment your Goodreads account name so I can follow y'all. So
Yeah.
bye y'all and
I
peace.
Bye.